Hey YouTube, it's Cello Ben, and welcome to another cello class. I'm here with Richard, and we're going to talk cello, do some playing, and have an all-around wonderful time with music. So, Richard, how long have you been a cellist?
7 years.
7 years. All right, excellent. And what do you want to do today?
I'll be playing the third movement to the Lalo Cello Concerto.
All right, very cool. Let me put the cello down so I can listen, and go for it whenever you're ready. All right, bravo. Absolutely fantastic playing. I think that in the faster section, you really bring a lot of excitement to the music. And I want to start actually by talking about the beginning, because this movement it's in two parts. It's got this short little introduction, and then you go on to the main material. Let me just grab the music really quickly. So one thing that I think, so in the faster portion, I think that you worked really well with like making these exciting lines, and because especially at that speed, not every note is has the same importance, and so you kind of need to know what to bring out so that people can make sense of what the line is when you're going so fast. And I think you're doing that well. But what I wonder is if you can do something similar in the introduction. Let me just find the music here. Sorry. There it is. Okay, perfect. And third movement. So he Lalo writes a really weird set of stuff at the beginning. He starts off with this gesture in forte, which is very, what kind of character do you think that is?
It's very intense. It's kind of like mourning, but then it's also not. It also doesn't have that really sad feel. I'm not really sure how to put it in words.
Well, I think for one thing, it's very proud. And I don't know, I see what you mean about, oh, sorry, I played it a half step too high by accident. I think it's very kind of exciting, and it's like a very big statement that says, here I am. And the way that I would think it should go is, that's got like so much flair. But what's wrong with this picture here?
It's Andante, and it's supposed to be contrasting with the rest of the piece. So then that flair, it should be a little bit less, but still there.
Well, I think that the tempo I played was more or less Andante. It might have been a little on the fast side, but what I'm talking about is something I did blatantly against the music. because he marks. Do you have that in your part, the pianissimo there?
I have a mezzo forte there.
We are looking at different editions then. I can't tell you which one is correct. I haven't done research on this piece, but my edition shows actually a pianissimo. Which sounds really, really peculiar. What edition are you playing from?
Um,
Oh, it's international.
yeah, international.
I can always tell by that little outline on the cover. And I'm guessing it's edited
Yes.
by.
I think Leonard Rose.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
So I can't say for sure, but I think it's possible that maybe Mr. Rose was, playing this with an orchestra or something and realized, if I observe pianissimo here, I won't be heard. And that might be true, but I think that even if you need to play a little bit louder than true pianissimo to project, that it can still be in that pianissimo character that really contrasts with it and is, I think, more mysterious. Sorry. And then it goes back up. Do you have a crescendo there at the end of the fifth bar?
Yes.
Okay, so we're basically looking at the same thing. It's just it looks like though Leonard Rose, I can't be positive that he did this, but it looks like somebody marked it up from pianissimo to mezzo forte. Can you try it just as an experiment? Because so pianissimo there, to me at least, makes no sense. Can you make it make sense? Mm-hmm. I think there can still be more of a difference. I wonder what would happen if you tried playing this like before. I'll tilt this down a little bit so you can see the bow. And then heading much closer to the fingerboard for a little bit and kind of hanging out there. And then with this up, are you doing this on an up bow here?
Yeah.
So yeah, good choice. I think with this up bow, you can be sort of near the fingerboard, and then you can change the angle of your tip so that it faces towards you. And then you can use that to bring you back down towards the bridge. Because it'll kind of almost go automatically if you put the angle. Yeah, I definitely noticed more contrast this time. It's not easy to tell over Zoom, because I think the way that the software works, they kind of just like try and make the levels equal for everything. But just make sure that when you're angling the tip, it's towards you and not towards the floor. Other way. So you want the frog to be pointed downwards and the tip to be pointed towards you.
So like this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, nice. There's one more thing that I noticed here that I think if you change this, you will have a better line that goes through. Use two bows out here, right?
Yeah.
You change bows. How do you change the bows?
It's kind of quick, but then
What if you try not to use your forearm at all for that and just change the bows with your wrist? I mean, use your forearm for the long notes, of course, but when you're it'll make it much snappier, and I think it'll help you to keep that line, and it also won't make you lose any tone because you won't be doing any of these larger movements. Good. Let's take a look. So the second part, the con fuoco, do you know what that means?
with force.
With fire. But so here we've gone from 9/8 to 6/8. And 6/8 usually has, especially when it's faster, a feeling of 2 beats in a bar. But the difference between 6/8 and 2/4 is that each beat has 3 in the group instead of 2. Now, sometimes when you're playing, it might seem like you don't always want to emphasize that meter, and that's okay, because sometimes it's more interesting if you don't. But I think you can have, in general, more of a sense of this 6/8 meter. Sorry. It's hard to look down at an iPad and play like this. I was exaggerating there, but I think you can try and at least be thinking in your mind about 2 impulses in every bar. You don't need to exaggerate it too much, but I want you to just kind of show to the audience that you are thinking of each bar in 2 beats. Great. It's almost in some places like a folk tune. Like very, very simple, and I think when you show the audience that it's in 6/8 more clearly, the music makes much more sense. There are some parts I think where it's even more important to do that. Do you have... Oh, I don't actually have bar numbers or letters. A little while later,
Yeah.
Can you try that and especially use the beginning of each measure as an anchor? So again, I'll exaggerate, but again, now what I just did was way too much, but just sort of subtly using it as an anchor. Great. The only place where I didn't hear it anchored was the last. And in this one, since you're leading, so here basically you have 4 bars where you're the only one playing. And then when you get down to this A, then the orchestra or the pianist comes back in. So maybe sort of lead into that. You can especially use 2 impulses in this bar, I think. Can you just try from here? Exactly. That's what I'm talking about. Let's see. Oh, I wanted to mention one thing that you generally do extremely well, but that I want you to be aware of. Usually, because you know about how even when you're not using it and you're up in a higher position, it's important to keep the thumb on the string. And like 95% of the time you were, but occasionally I would see your thumb over here. So the best way that I deal with that, I think, is when I shift up to a higher position, I bring the thumb with me even if I'm not going to use it. So, for example, if I'm going to this G here, or to this A, when I move to that note, I kind of just gently pull the thumb up from behind the neck as well. Yeah, yeah. Good. Let me think. Can you try after that, can you try your next entrance? Yeah. Very good. So that's kind of an odd little passage when you're up on top. Let me find it. Oh, yeah. So this is also in pianissimo and so this is interesting. First of all, what do you think is like what if you were telling a story? What would be happening here?
I'm not really sure.
It sounds to me like almost like crying. Like sort of, and the, and then it's so weird because it goes right back into this happy seeming section, the a tempo. This movement has a lot of different personalities, and I think that can be one of the fun things about exploring it, is figuring out what personalities happen when, and how there are transitions between personalities, and also when there are not even any transitions and they just go one to another. When you get down to, what is the dynamic you have marked?
Piano.
Okay, that's closer to what I have pianissimo in mind. So this is another place even where the personality is sort of changing every few notes, because He has pianissimo, and then he marks pianissimo again, and then so it's like push and pull. It's pretty weird, isn't it? Can you exaggerate it though once? Yeah. So I think the big takeaway, especially in this main section of the movement, is that you can do more exploring of dynamics. That's what's going to take your playing to the next level and make it even more interesting and enjoyable for the audience when concerts are finally allowed again. So I think especially in passages that are not, well, I think this can work in any passage. Just go and explore the range of dynamics you can do with it. So for example, the beginning, you can do that, or, oh, that's too much. Or just to experiment, you can try it really softly. And here, that's probably more like the dynamic you want to be at. And then you can go back and gradually make this a little louder and still go down to pianissimo there. And then a little more. And finally, it's very coy. You know what I mean? It's like somebody, it's like you're winking at the audience. It's like big passionate. Ha, just kidding. The way that he's written this, at least in the edition that I have, gives you a license to have a lot of fun. So mess around with it. Get to know the different things that you can do with color and with dynamics, and especially experimenting with your contact point between where, in terms of where you are between the fingerboard and the bridge. That's going to open up a lot of new possibilities for you. And it's also going to allow you to not only get those different colors and dynamics, but to be more true to what the composer wrote, and also to just have a wider range. So I want you to spend a lot of time practicing really playing things pianissimo, because the loud stuff is no problem for you. You've got a really big sound, really powerful tone, and so I want you to explore the more delicate side of the sound that you can get, and just make a goal every day to do, just lots of soft notes, whatever they may be. It doesn't matter, really. Just really getting to know the lower range of the dynamic spectrum. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Good. So with what we just talked about, do you have any questions that came to your mind?
No, not really.
No? All right. Well, I think you play very, very well, and um, I am very impressed by what you've accomplished in only 7 years. Um, and I think that you are going to do very, very well uh, with the cello. You'll continue to do very, very well. Um, so just explore and let yourself experiment. Thank you, Richard, for joining me today, and thank you to everybody who watched. It's been a pleasure, and I look forward to seeing you the next time. For now, stay safe and stay healthy, especially these days. Take care, and I'll see you in the next episode.